Hello everyone, welcome to a bit of an impromptu VG Blaster video. I kind of wanted to throw out some thoughts on overdress. I am a week late since it's been an announcement, but we also got a bit of news today on persona riding, so I want to talk about my general thoughts, about the whole announcements about persona ride, and I want to go into a bit of a topic about one of the big negatives some people are taking away, which is like the loss of clan identity, which I don't think is going to happen. I'm going to explain why. So first of all, if you never watched one of my videos, welcome. I started this channel as a Vanguard channel, in case you can't tell by the name, and then I kind of pivoted to Buddy Fight because I started doing well at that game, so it kind of came more of my focus competitively in deck building and analysis and all that. So yeah, I moved to that, but I've casually played Vanguard for pretty much the entirety of its length. I started from Onslaught of Dragon Souls set 2, original set 2, so I know the game. So I think I'm qualified to have some opinions on it. So yeah. So let's just jump into like what I think about overdress. I think generally it's fantastic. I think it's really good for the game. I'm really excited about it. The direction, the Mr. Mori, whatever his name is, the new director, seems very involved, especially recently, especially on the English side as well, in terms of their announcements, their engagement with the community. It all sounds very positive, what's coming out of it, so I'm very excited. As I say, the move from clans to nations is great, the ride deck is great, the yeah, just the general feel of the direction of the game, where it's going, looks to be good. Are there problems? Yes. The whole, obviously, one of the biggest things people aren't happy with is the free formats. And I mean, a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about, everyone's already talked about, like, you know, like I'm a week late, but in case this is a hot take for you, they couldn't do anything else. You know, if you were a new design team, you come into the game and you go, what's wrong with this game? How do we fix it? You know, how do we make it accessible still to all the players, and we bring new people in that maybe have been turned off the game for certain reasons. And one of the big reasons is you look at the game and you go, wow, 24 clans, how do you support them continuously or regularly and consistently? And the answer is they didn't. Basically, clans got over supported. You know, even when they commit to giving, you know, clans one support a year, it wasn't consistent. Some got better support than others. Do you know, the Luard set is the worst defender, or like the most prime example. So yeah, it wasn't working. People were never happy, and I'm gonna go into it later in the video why this new way is not only going to keep your clan identity, you're actually going to get better support, and you're gonna be happy with your decks more regularly. So yeah, and what they couldn't do is, so if they're going to do that, they're going to go to nation-based, you have to make a new format. You can't just go, hey, bring all the V and just like all these V Dragon Empire clans and go, whoop, smush them together, because then every week Dr. O's going to be like, choice restriction, choice restriction, choice restriction, choice, like it's just going to turn into that. So you have to split it, and then you can't just get rid of a previous format. You can't just go, okay, V players, you're premium now, because that just, like, it cuts the, you know, some players started this game in V, and they just don't want to, like, they just no interest in premium. They don't want to, like, now have this massive card pool they have to look into, not just to build their own deck, but then for the stuff they have to play against. If they know the V, they've started V, they know the whole collection, they're going to want to stick to it. So I don't think it's, you know, if you said V's gone, it's just smush it into premium, you're going to lose a lot of your player base. You know, people that potentially go into overdress stuff as well. So that's what has to be done. And then obviously you've got to keep premium. You've got to keep the eternal format. That especially keeps the English side happy as well. I personally love V, and it's just my personal opinion. I wasn't the biggest fan of G, but I think that's purely based on the fact that I love Narukami, and V was very kind to Narukami. G was, but not to that extent. Like, I just found more enjoyment out of the decks I own in V, personally. So, yeah, that's me. The next is Overtriggers. We're still, like, the information from the game is being leaked really slowly. Like, we've just got the Persona Ride kind of rulings and stuff like that. Like, we still don't know trigger and shield values for a lot of this stuff. We're starting to see like card power, like we know the grade 3s, at least in the Dragon Empire, grade 3s are 13k, grade 2s are 10k, you know, it's like force clan powers, but shield values have clearly changed. And the way you build your deck is going to change. I think the emphasis on grade 3s is going to drop. You're going to have one big main grade 3, and that's kind of how you build your deck around that. To support that is what it seems to be, but we don't know yet. You know, orders are still a thing. So yeah, I don't know how overtriggers are going to fit into all of that, and we don't know the effects for the nation-based ones yet, so I'm going to wait off until I really have a strong opinion on them. Obviously, just looking at them, like, out of context, like, yeah, RNG sucks to lose to it, but you know, it's Vanguard. You know, they fix some consistency in the ride deck. Triggers are always going to be a thing, so who knows. So, and the third thing that people have this issue with, which I've alluded to, is loss of clan identity, but I'll go into that in a minute. Persona Ride just got announced today. It's if you ride a grade 3 on top of the same grade 3 with the Persona Ride marker, your whole front row continuously gains 10k for the rest of the turn, even if there was nothing in there when you rode, and you draw a card. Fine. People kind of looked at it and gone, oh god, that's quite powerful. It's not. You have to do it it can only happen on turn 4 so far until effects like kick in, where you can like superior ride, but even then they've said it's like from hand, and they haven't specified in the ride phase, but like I don't think they're gonna like bust it open so you could do it on your opponent's grade 2 turn at the start of the game unless we have like better defensive options in this game, who knows. But as of yet, it's that. It doesn't scale like imaginary gifts do. Like you do it, it kicks off for that turn, it ends at that turn, and then if you want to do it again, you have to get that grade 3 in hand, which you might get consistency tools to do that, or you might have just damage to. So, you know, it's just, that's the way the game works. I think it's okay, and once again, it's kind of with overtriggers, until we start seeing the effects of the cards, because we haven't seen them, like, they're still like in a vacuum, like, is that the right term? Like, we don't know how it works for the rest of the game yet, because we don't know effects, we don't know values of shields, you know, so we don't know how that affects it. So let's see. I'm excited about it. I think it's good. I think it just keeps the game exciting. It's a very simple ruling, and it's kind of like a power. I'm yet to see what the actual overdress is. I forgot what the line is in the anime, but the character says something about activating overdress or overdress. This is I don't know. So that might be another thing as well. So we'll see. Anyway, as I say, when this got announced last week, a lot of people because clans have gone to nations now, a lot of people freaked out. And they went, oh, my clan identity's gone, you know, I'm quitting the game, you know, I love Spike Brothers, well, that's a bad example there in the trial deck, but, you know, I love Mega Colony, and I hadn't seen any art for Mega Colony, so I'm out, and you're going to get them, like you are. Like, I don't think that Bushy are going to go, get rid of that aesthetic, because they want to keep their current player base. So what they're going to do is they're going to, obviously, everyone's already said this, like the Dark States one, the trial deck's going to be is Spike Brothers focused. You get Spike Brothers support in set 1, and you'll get like Dark Irregulars or something. You can build a Dark Irregulars build. You'll get the triple rare big grade 3. You'll build the deck around that. What I want to point out is that, like, not only does this not erase your clan identity, it blows it like wide open and makes it more like you can take your clan, if it is just this grade 3 kind of focus, because that's probably how they're going to like keep these clans, because I don't think it's going to be attributes, because, you know, like, I think like the main grade 3, like the Nirvana, is a flame dragon or something like that, and then you've got dragon dancers, which are humans, so it's not going to be attribute based. I think it's going to be like based on the grade 3 you have, probably, or it's just going to be a play style that just works more together. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Buddy Fight as an example, because when I have visual aids and I know that game better, but, you know, you can point to any card game that uses like a color based system where they have like races, and, you know, you have like cards that work better together. So Bush are going to keep their current attributes or their current clans, and they're going to be the variations within the nations. So for example, I'm going to use, and to kind of explain why, one, this is a Bushy Road game as well. The design team's completely different. Hopefully they won't go the Buddy Fight way, because that game kind of went off the rails towards the end. But yeah, just as an example of how they supported the game and what you could do within what was essentially a world in Buddy Fight, which this is Star Dragon World, which is the example I'm going to use. It was introduced in Season 2, start season, like second set of Season 2, so it wasn't even in the game for its entire run. And it had 5 main sub-clans within it. So if you think of it as like most of these, like you're looking at your nations, like Keta Sanctuary has 6, but then, you know, Dragon Empire has 5, I think Dark States has 4. Yeah, and then Brantgate has 3, you know, Stockea has 5. So yeah, that's around, on average, the amount of clans you have in a nation. So not only were they like, they were all within a world, but they're all completely different decks, completely different play styles. You could make them all separately. At one point or another, they all had meta relevance. So whenever they got support, they always kind of jumped up. Either they became like a good competitive meta deck, or they just became relevant again, like a good tier 2 deck. So, and they didn't even support Dragon World in every main set. In Vanguard, the nations get support every main set. So, I'll go for them. So you had like Prism Dragons, which, you know, even like the history of the deck, like it started off defensively, then it became with a bit of burn, then it became very burn focused, and then it got an aggressive build towards the end. So even, you know, clans have different playstyles within them. Like if you're a Mega Colony player, once again, your playstyle changed every set. Maybe you like that, maybe you don't, but you know, it's still open to change the kind of playstyle. I had stuff like Cosmo Dragoons, which aesthetically, you know, Prism Dragons were like crystal defensive dragons. These were like Dragon Knights. And they were basically Maguses from Oracle Think Tank, where you stacked the top of your deck, you predicted what it was going to be, you got effects from that. So straight away, you've got two different aesthetics, two different playstyles. Then you had Astro Dragons, which were based on how you how you had formations on your field and how they gave you like effects. They could be they were like aggressive. It was like a mid-range kind of aggressive and defensive at the same time. So there's them. There's Drag Metal, which were a very control-heavy build. They were they looked like chess pieces. They were named after chess pieces. You took over your side, you know, you advanced on your opponent's side of the board, took over their areas, so they couldn't use them unless you like took out their units. And then you had Neodragons. Now Neodragons, even within a subclan, had 3 separate builds. I am stretching it by saying 3 because this one, Variable Chord, like had like a viable build when it first came out and a viable build like really later on. That's kind of a stretch. The aesthetic of Neodragons they were like big dragons that you put weapons on. Like you had your main units, and they had like smaller dragon arms, and you put them into the soul, and it was like you were adding weapons to your dragon. But even then, like Variable Chord was very much about pump as many weapons into this as you possibly can. There was Zodiac, which was a control heavy variant. You know, use the dragon arms for effects and a bit of defense, but you were majority like paralyzing your opponent's units. Like original Mega Colony, you'd rest them and they stay locked or stay rested. And then my favourite deck of all time, which was Jackknife Neodragons, which were very like Prism Dragons. They changed over time. They started quite like defensive-y, then they got a bit of control element, and then for an example, like people assumed they were going to stay control. And when I went to a tournament to win this trophy with a second place, I looked at the deck, I looked at like the handful of new cards they got in a set where like they were shared. They weren't the main focus of that set, like they shared the focus with Prism Dragons. And I was like, these cards are kind of aggressive, and the meta's very aggressive, and the control build kind of takes a bit of setup. It's a bit slow, it's not that consistent. So what if I just went full aggro and just instead of trying to go, I can control the speed of my opponent, just outspeed them. So to sit down and my opponent's going to go, oh, they're going to play control. You know, I just have to plan around that. And I go, nah, I'm just going to play these cards down and then attack your face and you're dead, like turn 1. So what you will about FTKs, you know, they became a big problem in Buddy Fight, but it's not the point. The point is like, I looked at cards and thought, what if I changed the focus, especially from what before? And that's happened in Vanguard before. And I think even with overdress, it's just going to just blow up in terms of what you can use. And luckily they've already confirmed that with showing off the trial deck, the orders are still a thing. I think with a ride deck as well, with the consistent ride, you can play around with your numbers more of red 1s and 2s. You can afford to have these orders and not be like, oh, they've clogged my hand, or they've stopped me from G-assisting because I've got a grade 2 order in hand, but not a grade 2 unit to ride. You know, I think that's how it worked. I think but yeah. So you open. So for example, this card is Star Trek Repair. Came out in a set where it was like a new generation, and I think it was Astro Dragons with a big focus. Like they just come out, they were the new attribute. The main support was that, and we got 3 cards for Jackknife in that set. Because every time a set came out and it'd be like, oh, Star Dragon mode, I'd go, right, well, I main Jackknife. It might not be the main focus, but it might get a couple of cards. This was one of 3 cards in the set. I put it in, and just the power, that card brought Jack up to a more competitive level, and it's not left the deck up until the end of the game. So that's just what things can happen. You can get a little bit of support, you know, like set 2, like I was using Spike Brothers. You get your trial deck, you get your support in set 1. You come to set 2, it's Pale Moon and Gear Chronicle as the main focus, and then you might get like 2 Spike Brothers cards, or an order that's a bit generic, or 1 Spike Brothers card that just puts it in, that just, if the power jumps up a little in set 2, it just keeps spikes there as well. So, you know, you don't have to, you know, people as well were like, oh, if I play Dark States, I have to buy cards all the time. Well, no, you just choose once again your clan, keep an eye on what's in there. Do they have Spike Brothers specific cards? Do they have generic cards that you can splash in there, or a play style you can mix in? Like when I won this trophy, I'm using my winnings for example, I played this spell, which is Crystallization Phenomenon. It's a generic spell, and I was looking, once again, I had my deck, it was very aggressive, and I was looking at the meta, and it was also very aggressive, and in a fair fight, they probably, like, if they were without that spell, they'd probably outspeed me. You know, I was more on the back foot than they were, so I was like, what can I do to stop them? All I need to do is make sure I survive their turn, and then I can go at them, because they don't have defense. Like, they were both kind of glass cannon, like all three were very glass cannony, but they were hit really hard. So that card really just, like, the main focus of those two decks, they had one card and that was the focus. They put it down and they kind of built up to it, and then that card just went at you like multiple times to kill you. Where the spell was like, well, choose a card in your opponent's field and basically shut it down for the turn, and they can't really do much about it. Like, those decks didn't have spell nulls, they didn't have a way of once they entered the attack phase and they started attacking and I played that, it shut them down. So that's the kind of thing you can do. You can look at the meta and go, you know, I want to play this Spikebuilders deck, I want this main grade 3 or this main thing as my focus, but what's the meta like? It's not like you're going, like you used to go and a deck would have like an optimum build, and then if you just had a bad matchup, you just were probably going to lose, like it just, the way it was. Whereas now, you can tech in stuff from other clans, you've got more support, where it's not like Narukami, for me, like if they got support like 5 months ago, or 5 months before tournament season came around, and I didn't want to, like, I just wanted to play Narukami, like I was just out of luck because I just, unlucky that you got support out of tournament season and now everything else is better than you. So when they're supporting nations every month, even if you don't get specific support or you're not the most recent focus, you have options. You can look and think, can I combine clans? Can I make a mix? Can I just tech a few cards? It just blows things out. It's like going from V to premium when you look at all this backlog and you're like, oh wow, there's so much options. That's what's going to happen, and there's going to be even more. It just, as the game grows or just gets older, that's just going to advance. So if you think about quitting because you think of lost if you think about quitting because you think you're going to lose your clan identity, I think you should switch that way of thinking, because not only are you not going to lose it, it's going to be more like adaptable. You're going to be able to it's really going to be your clan identity. Like, you could have your clan and really not just like, oh, I'm just playing the optimum build that I saw on Twitter. Like, yes, you can go to Twitter and go, that's a good core. Like, that's what I used to do with Buddy Fight. Like, oh, that's a great core. Let me take it. Let me put what I want to put in. Or, you know, because I know the English meta is different to the Japanese meta because what we play, or because English was best of 3, Japan was, like, they played multi-deck format. So things are different. You know, some clans are more popular. You're going to go into a meta, or you're going to your locals and you know what all your local guys play, and you're like, well, I want to win this locals this week, so I'm going to put this card in. And then when I go to nationals, when I know it's not a bigger thing, I'll change it out. You can really just adapt your deck on the fly, and you can try so many different combinations that the game, even if they do stick to like 2-month releases, even though they do seem to be having like little things in between, you can just switch your deck up like all the time, just to keep things fresh, to keep things exciting, just to try things out. And I think we're really going to see a lot of good experimentation from this community, and that's what I'm really looking forward to with it. So they're my initial thoughts. I will maybe make some more videos. Like, I'm sorry, this is probably going to be bad quality. I'm saying this right at the end if you've watched the whole video, but I'm just doing this on my phone. I've recently moved and lost my camera, and just done this very quick setup with me sitting on the floor in front of my phone. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Discuss this in the comments below if you've got any pushback, if you disagree with me, have any counterpoints, maybe you've got better examples or you think my example's bad. But that's just my experience with a similar Bushiroad game, and I think it's going to be, it might not be, Bushi might do it differently, they might not give clans support, but I mean, as I say, every nation gets support apart from Bermuda and their little world, or whatever it is, whale, is getting support every main set. So you're going to get something, unless they really go like clan specific, like it's just these two clans and they can only be used in either of the builds, which I don't think they'll do. I think the idea is now the clans have come together, and I think they want to do that. I think they want to make the game less like xenophobic to the clan and just more open to experimentation. Obviously that's more difficult to keep balanced. We might see a lot more choice restrictions. Who knows? I have faith in this team. They seem to know what they're doing. I know the director worked on Shadowverse. I know very little about that game, if it stayed balanced or anything like that, or if since he's left, or I don't know. But I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. And maybe that's foolish because Bushiroad have burned me multiple times. But who knows? I'm looking forward to it. So thank you guys for watching. hopefully I'll make more content soon. If I'm overflowed with passion, I need to get a new laptop and maybe get like tabletop set up or area set up again like I did with Buddy Fight, and get some practice going. But I'll probably wait till we start getting the trial decks. That's going to be in a few weeks yet. I think they're just trying to get clan selection out of the way. Like today they showed us what Persona I did, but they purposely have took all the effects off the cards that they've shown, so they are purposely keeping it a secret for a little bit longer. So we'll wait and see, and maybe when we get full effects I can give like a full opinion on like what I think, how I think Persona and overtriggers fit within everything. So yeah, this has gone on long enough, so thank you guys for watching. I'll see you soon.